Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving you my general learnings from Dash.io, some things that I'm seeing through casual Talishar testing, and just hopefully be able to help rudder steer anybody that just isn't sure where to take this hero, because I think bright lights, we're all going to have to kind of band together at the casual or like semi-competitive level to try to figure these heroes out together better. So I want to be able to do that and give you a platform, give you updates as I am doing it, so we can all discuss it together as a community. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy your stay. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Patreon and the Discord down below, and we'll get right into it. So yeah, Dash.io, Max, Tekla, this is the most complicated set we've ever had in Flesh and Blood. This is the first set where I have heard pro players and like top players be like, I have no clue how to evaluate this right now. This is overwhelming, right? To hear people like Nathan from the Card Guys, to hear people like them on M&R podcast, on their podcast, saying like the evaluation of this set is so hard to do. Like these top players in the world, like Michael Hamilton, even being like, I need to chew on this more, like in their own way, saying that. It really shows you how complicated the set can be. So I want to be able to give at least even if small ideas that I'm getting as I'm testing to be able to hopefully help you in your journey with these heroes. So for Dash.io, my initial thought was, why do you play this over OG Dash? What does this hero give you that OG Dash doesn't? Whether you're playing control, whether you're, and those answers will change, but generally whether you're playing control, hybrid, or tempo, like aggro, what does it give you, right? And so I've been trying to answer that question. I've done about 20 plus games so far on Talishar with testing various builds with Dash.io, really more on a mid-range tempo game plan. I haven't tried like the control system reset build that people are trying. But regardless, I'll give you a couple things. So first thing we got to say is, what does OG Dash do that Dash.io simply cannot do? Is there anything? The one thing is OG Dash can play for a late game loop where she's basically dealing 12 damage to you without expanding a card. If she gets 2 induction chambers out, 2 plasma purifiers out, she has the blues to pay for it, she essentially can deal 9 to 12 damage depending on how many resources she has without expanding a card, right? So she can do really well in a fatigue style game plan and play into fatigue better than Dash.io can. Just straight up, she can. So how does Dash.io make up for that in the control game plan? I don't think you can play control. If you play control in Dash.io, it's going to be like a semi-OTK build with the system reset stuff or the mill build, but people are going to have to figure that out. What Dash.io can do is a couple different things that OG Dash, I feel, can't do or can't do as well. Number one, and these are going to be anywhere from like fundamental deck things to like minute things. So one is obviously playing the items off top of your deck. This does a couple different things. One, with a card like Tekla Core, it allows you to play this at instant speed. So you're able to play this without taking up your action point, and also charges the pistol, which we'll talk about here in a second. The pistol is really a big deal. Talk about the be able to load your pistol shot and potentially even gain an action point if you choose to crank your item. Now with Tekla Core, you can't really do that. However, cards like Dissolving Shield and Boom Grenade and any other zero cost that has the word crank on it will allow you to do that. The old school items will not, right? However, being able to crank items that have crank on them and gain action points while also loading your pistol can be very efficient. And when you couple it with things like Tunic, which we'll also talk about here in a second because some people might disagree with me on that, it gets really hyper efficient really fast. You're able to gain action points, gain intrinsic value, and gain efficiency that OG Dash couldn't do. Because even OG Dash setting up like her items and stuff like that, those take resources, those take a lot of deck setup and a lot of time, whereas Dash.io not necessarily can do it better at all times, but she a lot of times, especially in the early and mid game, can do it a lot more efficiently than OG Dash could. That's just my opinion. Being able to play cards like Tekla Core without losing tempo is super nice. Playing cards, zero cost items is really nice, especially if they have crank to gain action points. My second thing is Tunic. So Tunic, I think, is super good in Dash.io, and it opens up Tunic to be played in the Mechanologist class a lot more, even over Tekla Foundry Heart. Tekla Foundry Heart has its uses, and it's build dependent. But with Tunic, when you combine Tunic with these zero cost items, it creates such hyper efficient play lines and also high octane. Being able to play a boom grenade off of Tunic from the top of your deck and cranking it because you want it to hit that turn, or you think you're going to be able to hit that turn, you essentially just netted a pistol shot, a 4 points of damage at red, a pistol shot and 4 points of damage at red, and potentially an action point if you crank it, all off of Tunic, right? Off of one resource, you're able to load your weapon, create 4 points of damage, and an action point. That's insanely efficient, right? Now, that's potential value, which in this set is what you have to start evaluating. People are used to evaluating, and it's the reason why top players are even struggling with this set. People are used to evaluating like known value of cards. In Bright Lights, it's all about potential value. And how is the potential value of a card? What could it potentially get you? So that's something you have to keep in mind. Another thing with Dash.io is Symbios' shot. This card's very interesting. So let's throw out the control OG Dash game plan where you set up 3 purifiers or 3 induction chambers and all this other crazy stuff, right? Let's just say on an average game you get 2 induction chambers out on like a hybrid build. You essentially, in order to fire that pistol 3 times, let's say it's loaded going into the turn, because ideally you want to have it loaded going into the turn. You fire. You have to load both your chambers. Whether you do it before the turn, previous turn, or during this turn. So that's 2 resources. Then you have to be able to fire the pistol, take off the chamber, load the pistol, take off the chamber, load the pistol. So that's minimum 4 resources. And that's if you don't want to reload your chambers at the end of the turn. If you want to reload your chambers at the end of the turn and your pistol, you have to be able... No, you can't even do that because you have to do another chamber. So if you want to reload your chambers at the end of the turn, that's 6 resources, right? That's a lot. That's a lot to ask, even with a deck that can run a lot of blues and be very efficient. What Symbios' shot, and that's more of a late game plan, what Symbios' shot allows you to do is in the early to mid game have more efficient and destructive high octane turns. So I talked to a couple of Dash players and asked, like, okay, what is the average amount of time you want to be swinging with your pistol on a high octane turn? And I got anywhere from 3 to 5 times. 5 times is like really good, but ideally 3 times, right? Is not ideally, but typically 3 to 4 times. Symbios' shot, when you couple it with high octane, you're able to, and cranking items, you're able to fire this thing 5-6 times. And I'm telling you right now, most of the time in the mid game, you have 5 to 6 charges on this. Even if you fire this every 1 to 2 turns, because of how many items you're putting out, you typically do 2 charges for every 1 time you fire this thing. And on a turn, so let's just say you have Tunic and you have Octane and Arsenal, a blue, and 3 cards. You have a 0 to 60, a Pulse Wave, and a Zipper Hit. You activate Tunic, you play High Octane, you draw a card. Doesn't matter what you draw into. You can draw into another attack. Let's say you have 5 charges on the Symbios' shot. You boost, let's say you boost your Zipper Hit, then after boosting, the next card that's on top of your deck is an item. You have 1 resource floating. You're able to then play that item at instant speed, crank it. You gain another action point. So you're at 3 action points now. Then you play out your last 2 attacks, going up to 5 action points. Then you're able to play Symbios' shot 5 times, right? Without loading it, without using resources. You can't just do that efficient of a line in OG Dash. She has to have not induction chambers out, but she has to have the resources to pay potentially to load the pistol. And then you want to load at the end of the turn, all this other stuff. Whereas Symbios' shot just says, hey, if you have the action points and charges, I'm your guy, I'm your gal. And it's not that hard to have that because you're playing items out so consistently that you're going to have those charges most of the time in the mid game. I mean, if we look at this right now, if you, in an ideal world, in this list specifically, that's 9, 11, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 charges potentially to put on your Symbios' shot. Not that hard to get up there. So I'd say on the average good high octane turn, you're firing this pistol like 4 times. That's a normal turn. I've fired as much as 6 times off a double high octane turn. That got really nutty really fast. But when you combine a high octane turn with cranking items, you're able to generate action points super fast on a pop-off turn and deal insane damage, right? Damage that you normally have to have 2 to 3 items set up for in OG Dash. Another thing that's kind of intuitive is you're able to make decisions based off top of your deck. Do I want to boost? Do I not want to boost? Do I want to, opt with Optical Monocle, which I can also play at instant speed at a previous turn and be able to try to find an item, right? And be able to see that item, all types of things, right? There's a lot more efficiency in this deck when it comes to being able to see the top of your deck very, very well. And the last thing is the obvious one, combat tricks. Combat tricks like Boom Grenade are really, really nice. Combat tricks like penetration script and instant speed are really nice. Being able to give your attack +1 like a mini Art of War. Stuff like that. Even playing Dissolving Shield off Tunic off the top of your deck is very nice on defense, because then you can just activate it 3 times and prevent 3 damage. You basically said, I'm going to take my Tunic resource and convert it into preventing 3 damage, right? Super, super nice. So there are some efficiencies that Dash.io has that OG Dash just doesn't. Now, OG Dash's late game efficiency, I think, is a lot better. I'll just be honest here. But Dash.io's mid to early game efficiency, I actually think is better, because she can play out certain items that OG Dash wanted to play out very efficient. And you can even add stuff like Plasma Mainline in here for Spark of Genius turns, and be able to play, put extra counters on your Dissolving Shields or on your Teklo cores or on stuff like that. Or not Teklo cores, but Teklo cores and stuff like that. So just has some really hyper efficient things about it, I think, that make it really, really good. So overall, I think Dash.io is in the best spot. Personally, I know some people disagree. Some people think that I've actually heard all 3. I've heard some people say Max, they think is going to be the best out of the 3, potentially. I've heard some people say Teklavos, and I've heard some people say Dash.io. I'm still on Dash.io. I think on an efficient build, she is the most solid of the 3. Now, is there a spike build for Teklavos and that's very hyper, fatiguey, that's really good in a certain meta? Sure. Is there a mid-range Max build, which I think is the build that people are going to eventually crack, because he's very good on 2 and 3 card hands, that could possibly do really well in like a mid-range, give and take meta? Yes. But in without knowing meta, I think Dash.io has the best chance to be able to be the best out of the 3 especially going into this new meta. Once Lexi leaves, I think Dash.io is probably your best bet out of all of them. Maybe Max might be better than the Dromai, but across the board, I think Dash.io has the most flexibility. But let me know what you think of my thoughts. If you disagree with some of them, tell me down below. The reason I'm making this video, and I'm going to be making consistent updates to heroes of what my thoughts are. Normally, I would just do deck techs and then do a lot of overhauls and then do another deck tech. But with this and Bright Lights, I think I need to make videos as I find things out. Maybe if it's not one thing, then sure, I won't do it. But if I find 5, 6 things out, I want to be able to make videos. My most controversial thing is Tunic. I think playing Tunic, when you combine Tunic with the 0 cost items, you're able to convert a Tunic resource into 4 value, or 4 resources, right, at instant speed, or so most Tunic values and a 0 cost item nets you a 2 points of offensive value, and potentially, depending on what you're doing, a whole card and a half worth of value. It's just insane. So let me know what your thoughts are. I'd like to hear it. I'm really, really enjoying the build so far. This is my current build. It's a little bit different than the deck tech, I know, but I mean, we're all testing things. I found that one of Toma Fiendal is good. Backup Protocol Blue actually has some cool application I'll talk about in a future video. Yeah, just really, really excited about this. There's so many ways to take this here, but let me know your thoughts. That's the whole point of this, is to give the community a platform to kind of talk about what we've learned, what we think. Just be constructive. Don't be overly negative. That's all I ask. Yeah. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If not me, it's totally fine. Really it is. Go to another Flesh Bug creator. We had so many give out amazing spoilers. People are doing crazy good content right now. The game's popping. Go sub to somebody else. Let other people see the game. Give other people some love. There's a lot of creators. I even have on my homepage I need to update it, but it's a list of all creators in Fab. Go to that video, go to that page, go sub to somebody you don't recognize. That's kind of my challenge to you today. But thank you all so much for joining me. I'll be doing more videos this week. I've been loving September. It's been really good. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.